All right. Well, good day to you all, and thank you for joining our session today. I would like to take a moment to introduce Dr. Jessica Kohler, who will be leading today's session. And we really appreciate you attending our 10th annual TLC conference. Dr. Kohler holds a PhD in school psychology from the University of Maryland. She's an associate faculty member at the University of Arizona Global Campus, teaching undergrad and grad level courses currently in psychology. With over 2 decades of experience as a practitioner, a researcher, and a lecturer, Dr. Kohler has taught multiple institutions and worked as a school psychologist, specializing in psychoeducational assessment, academic interventions, and teacher efficacy. Her research extends into neuroscience, where she studied dyslexia and hyperlexia at Georgetown University. Earlier in her career, Dr. Kohler focused on school-based teams, character education, and social skills, examining how targeted interventions can enhance educational outcomes. Dr. Kohler is also the author of Who the Hell is Piaget J? And What Are His Theories All About? She writes beyond the school walls blog for the Psychology Today, where she connects psychological science to everyday life. Her passion for translating research into practical tools fuels her teaching and public outreach efforts. In addition to her academic and professional pursuits, Dr. Kohler has been a homeschooling parent for the past 9 years. Please help me welcome Dr. Kohler. Dr. Kohler, I think you're still muted. You said amazing things in your intro. There you go.
There we go. So thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Can you hear me now? Awesome. So thank you all for joining this presentation. As you heard, I am Dr. Jessica Kohler, and today I'm going to be discussing the role of artificial intelligence in fostering intellectual belonging in higher education. That is a mouthful, right? And I want to start off by saying that I am not an artificial intelligence specialist by any means. I bring the perspective of a psychologist. You know, as was just mentioned, I have a PhD from the University of Maryland in school psychology. So much of my early career was really focused on helping K-12 teachers, and I also worked in the university settings, helping teachers, instructors meet the social, emotional, behavioral, and academic needs of learners. So I carry that focus with me now as an associate faculty member teaching psychology to undergraduate and graduate students. So I'm really aiming to create a supportive and engaging virtual classroom, because I teach fully online classes now, that promotes not only academic success, but also emotional well-being and a sense of community among students. So today, just really quickly, we're going to cover the concept of intellectual belonging, the barriers to achieving it, AI's role in enhancing belonging, some specific tools, AI tools for personalized learning, and a little bit about how we can measure, kind of simply, the impact of these AI initiatives. So what is intellectual belonging? I'm sure we all have an idea of what that means. Intellectual belonging means feeling respected, valued, and included within an academic community. This is essential for student engagement, success, and well-being. So let's kind of break it down a little bit. Intellectual belonging means a student feels their thoughts, their opinions, they're given genuine consideration, and that their perspectives are kind of acknowledged, right? It's about creating an environment where diverse ideas can flourish, and students kind of feel empowered to share their intellectual identities without sort of a fear of judgment or exclusion. So consider like an example of a student who doesn't feel like they fit intellectually, right, in a classroom. They might hesitate to share their thoughts. You may have been in this position yourself as a student, or you may have had students reach out to you about this, right? This student might hesitate to share their thoughts in the discussion boards. They might hesitate to collaborate with their peers. And over time, as the term, the semester, whatever goes on, they may start to disconnect from their academic experiences altogether. On the other hand, when students feel that their intellectual contributions are welcomed, that they're valued, they're more likely to engage more deeply with the course material, they're more likely to participate more confidently, and they're more likely to persist when they run into challenges. So creating this intellectual belonging, it's not just about fostering student success, which is important. It's about building like a truly inclusive environment in higher education. So kind of ensuring that all students, regardless of their background, their identity, their previous educational experiences, that they feel like their intellectual voices matter in your course. So again, why does intellectual belonging matter? Well, research supports the idea that intellectual belonging significantly impacts student engagement, success, and well-being in higher ed, particularly in online settings. There's more and more research coming out about this. And if you're interested in the research I'm going to be talking about, you can feel free to reach out to me after this. Studies highlight that when students feel a sense of belonging within their academic environment, whether through connection with peers or engagement with faculty, they're more likely to actively participate in the class. They're more likely to take intellectual risks. They're more likely to stay motivated. So research shows that academic belonging and social integration are strong predictors of student engagement and resilience in courses, not just engagement, resilience, with higher levels of that intellectual belonging correlating with improved academic outcomes and improved emotional well-being. So the sense of well-being reduces feelings of isolation, which is especially critical in fully online environments. As we're all, moving into these more fully online environments, this becomes even more important where sort of face-to-face interactions can be limited or non-existent. So additionally, fostering a strong sense of belonging has been found to directly impact students' intention to persist in their studies, with positive academic outcomes linked to supportive peer and instructor relationships. So these sort of findings, these connections between intellectual belonging and these outcomes demonstrate the importance of cultivating an intellectual belonging in online classrooms and in higher ed in general to ensure that students feel connected, engaged, and empowered to succeed academically. So I've talked a lot about what intellectual belonging is, but I really like this quote about belonging. Belonging goes further than inclusion. It is about feeling meaningfully connected to and part of the organization, right? I really like this quote. And I'm sure many of us can think about times when we have felt that belonging, right? We've been a part of an organization and we felt like our contributions really matter, what we have to say, what we have to share. We feel our ability, open to sort of tell what we really think or about our experiences, but we probably have also been in some situations where we may not have felt that way and how uncomfortable that could be and how it can, decrease our motivation or engagement in that particular organization. So when we talk about just inclusion, it often refers to being present, having access, being part of the group. However, belonging goes kind of a step further. It's about more than just being included. It's about feeling like you're valued, that you're a meaningful part of the organization. So this sense of belonging means that individuals feel kind of emotionally connected and their contributions are not just accepted, but they're appreciated as well. So again, how important intellectual belonging is. It helps students feel respected. Opinions, knowledge, and experiences are treated with dignity. It helps them feel valued. They understand their contributions, even when those contributions differ from others, add meaningful diversity to discussions, right? They feel included. They feel that part of the academic dialogue, they feel a part of it. They feel like they're not outsiders, but important participants shaping the conversation within those discussions. So it's really this intellectual belonging is crucial in an academic environment. Without it, students might feel kind of isolated, especially students from sort of more underrepresented groups or non-traditional backgrounds. For example, first-generation college students, students of color, those with some sort of neurodiversity, oftentimes they might get into their first experience or early experiences in higher ed, and they really question whether they belong in a highly intellectual or rigorous academic setting. And when intellectual belonging is not prioritized, these students may internalize these feelings of inadequacy or that imposter syndrome, which we're going to talk about more. And this can, of course, have a negative effect on their academic performance and their overall well-being. So when students feel they belong intellectually, it enhances their engagement, more likely to participate, more likely to share their unique perspectives, more likely to actively engage, which, as we know, if you're an online instructor, that makes the courses in general just so much more interesting. They're more likely to, it enhances their confidence. Their intellectual belonging boosts their self-esteem, makes them more willing to tackle challenging material and take on academic risks. And they're more likely to persist when they feel connected to the intellectual life of the institution. When something arises, something difficult, they're more likely to persist in the face of those challenges. So, again, it's really important, the importance of intellectual belonging. I feel like I've made the case for that. It boosts student motivation and academic achievement. It enhances student retention, reduces dropout rates, and that really, really important one, in my opinion, supports overall well-being in higher education. So students who feel they belong academically are more likely to persist in their studies, maintain motivation, and perform better. So it's really, really important to help them feel valued in the academic environment. So what are some barriers that we have to intellectual belonging? Well, first one, imposter syndrome. I feel like all of us can probably understand what this is, feeling of not deserving to be in a space. This says academic spaces, but I'm sure all of us in some way, I was just talking to my husband about this actually yesterday, that we still, in certain environments, we still feel imposter syndrome when really we shouldn't, right? I'm in my late 40s and he's 50, and we're still feeling some of that imposter syndrome in places that we really shouldn't. Now, students, and especially students that are just starting off in their higher ed journey, they can really feel that imposter syndrome, right? There can be a lack of representation. Some students may not see themselves in the curricula or the faculty. And then there's that social isolation and lack of community support that could be exacerbated, especially in online environments. So these barriers can hinder intellectual belonging. And, we really need to try to work through them. That imposter syndrome what can it do? Well, it can affect, it creates a persistent feeling of self-doubt among students, making them believe they don't belong. Even when their academic performance can suggest otherwise, right? It's just like, it's a perception that they can have that isn't actually based in reality, but a lot of people experience imposter syndrome. This can be more likely to be experienced by underrepresented groups, especially first-generation college students, and it can be linked to academic anxiety and to academic burnout. So when students don't see people like themselves in the academic environments, it can reinforce a sense of sort of alienation and make them feel like they don't belong intellectually, right? So we really have to be careful about all these things, for students from underrepresented groups, and how much, an absence of diverse role models or diverse examples and stuff could have an effect on the students. Feelings of intellectual belonging. That social isolation can exacerbate feelings of intellectual exclusion. So building a community where students can feel connected is vital to foster that intellectual belonging. So limited social networks can lead to disengagement. I'm sure we can all understand how that can happen in more remote environments, and how we have to work a little bit harder to cultivate that, to fight against that social isolation. Lack of peer support can create emotional distance. And group work and community-based opportunities can help kind of be remedies to that in different ways. So shifting a little bit of focus to my robot here, what is the role of AI in enhancing intellectual belonging? Well, AI has the potential to break down barriers to intellectual belonging by personalizing learning, providing immediate or almost immediate feedback, and helping students feel more supported academically. So again, it's really important to be thinking about, this is how I think about it, how much AI can help to personalize the learning experiences for students, right? One of the biggest things that I've noted as I've sort of adopted and tried to figure out how to utilize the different tools that we have available at this point is how much more timely it has helped me and being able to give feedback to students and to support them. And I've had several students reach out to me and say just how much they really appreciate that. They really appreciate the more timely feedback and support, because I'm able to speed things up a little bit, even in classes with more students. AI can also reduce biases. And this, we're going to talk a little bit more about, there are some problems with biases in AI, but I'm talking about from like in an individual, intra-individual instructor perspective, going from student to student to student, it can reduce bias within the individual instructor. So AI can analyze student data to provide tailored feedback and resources, making learning more personalized and learning more accessible. And this can be especially true for historically underserved populations. Adaptive learning systems can sort of cater to individual student needs. As I said at the beginning, I come to this as a school psychologist, well before the time of AI or any technologies, to really help individualize, personalize student learning. So as someone who worked a lot with students who are really struggling in academic environments, I'm so excited about the opportunity to have these tools available to help these individual students to sort of meet their needs and personalize learning for what they need. So AI tools like ChatGPT, probably one you've all heard of or tried. Most people have, not everyone, but they can assist with student queries and tutoring. And the data-driven insights into your student performance can really help you tailor academic interventions. As a professor or instructor, we may think, oh, this material makes sense, but when you start seeing are able to use AI to sort of really look into the data and see where students are having difficulty, it can really help you tailor those academic interventions. So some of you may have heard of Lev Vygotsky, and some of you may have not. If you have a background in education or human development, you probably, and maybe even beyond that, you may have heard of Lev Vygotsky. He was actually a contemporary of Piaget, who I wrote a book about. And in Lev Vygotsky's theory of child development, there was this concept of this more knowledgeable other. He called it an MKO. And this refers to an individual or source with greater knowledge or skill than the learner, who can guide and support the learner's understanding through interaction. So traditionally, the more knowledgeable other would have, like when he was working with children, it would be a parent, a caregiver, a teacher, a more capable peer was a big one, or some mentor in some way. However, with these advancements in technology now, the more knowledgeable other could also be an artificial intelligence system, which I think is just, as I was saying in the last slide, a wonderful thing that we're going to be able to meet the individual needs of students, right where they are academically. So Vygotsky believed that interacting with MKOs, more knowledgeable others, is essential for learners to expand their knowledge and skills, because they benefit from guided learning experiences within, and this term might trigger some memory of your child development class or something like that early on, that zone of proximal development. And that's sort of the range of tasks a learner can achieve with assistance from a more knowledgeable source. So in this way, I think about these AI tools as sort of that more knowledgeable other that can help move the student forward within their zone of proximal development. So by adapting Vygotsky's concept, and Vygotsky, if you're not aware of him, he actually died really young, I believe, of tuberculosis, like in his 30s. But what he came up with, it was, I think, in the early part of the 20th century. So these ideas have been around for a while. So by adopting Vygotsky's concepts to include AI, we can recognize that AI-powered tools can play a valuable role in sort of facilitating that personalized learning and guiding learners through new concepts and skills. So it enables constant customization based on students' learning. Again, that automated or semi-automated feedback can help the student identify the gaps in the knowledge so much more easily. And it can provide, this is how I use it a lot. Sometimes I completely blank on coming up with good examples. So many students, and myself included, learn so well when I have very clear examples to explain a concept within psychology. And I've found that especially ChatGPT has really helped me to come up more quickly with really valuable examples to aid in student learning. And helping you develop personalized questions for students who might be struggling in a particular area with a particular concept. So ChatGPT can help instructors provide timely, personalized responses. It can help reduce feelings of intimidation when students directly query for assistance, right? So I have a son who actually went through a fully online bachelor's degree program and graduated in May, and he's now in a fully online master's degree program. And I will say that I noticed he's kind of gotten over it now, but when he first started his bachelor's degree program, he was very intimidated about reaching out to professors. And I got very frustrated as as an instructor that he was having difficulty with that. And he found that reaching out and first querying a little bit about what he was, confused about, whether it was directions or particular material with, AI versus just directly reaching out to the professors, he's found, I think that reduced his anxiety quite a bit. And I've talked to other parents who've kind of seen the same thing. And again, ChatGPT can also just act as sort of a personalized tutor for low or no cost. And this can be especially helpful for people that are having, difficulty accessing tutoring services, across all levels of education. So let's consider like an example scenario of a student in an online course who's struggling to engage with material and feeling disconnected. And the professor might notice this and decide to take action there. They might notice it because they've noticed in their discussion responses that they might not be fully engaged, or they might be a little bit confused, or students, I've had students just kind of reach out that they're feeling really confused by the material, particular issues. And so the professor decides to take action to enhance the student's intellectual belonging. Well, how can ChatGPT help, right? So in an online course, like ChatGPT can offer personalized feedback, right? It can and interactive study aids to help those students who are feeling really disconnected, which will foster that intellectual belonging. So for myself, one of the things that I've done in each of the courses that I teach, I've started creating. I use Box, so I use Word, Microsoft Word, but you could use a Google Doc or a Microsoft product and start creating documents of prompts, right? Prompts that can really help students that really, like from class to class, I'm starting to see themes, right? Like right now I'm teaching a class on child development, and I've definitely, this is, the second or third time I've taught it. I'm seeing a lot of themes in the types of questions that are asked, where confusion is happening, that kind of thing. So I've just been cataloging different types of prompts to become sort of a prompt engineer to help guide the students who are struggling in the classes. And it can really, really help out then when you implement it as a tool for answering those common student questions that seem to come up over and over and over again. So it's sort of a versatile tool that can be used in many ways to enhance learning. So again, that personalized feedback, and for me, it's really about speeding up the personalized feedback by really getting good at the prompt engineering. I am mentioning my child again, but my older son, he now has an internship where through the Department of Defense, and it's a fully online internship where he is a prompt engineer. So he's actually helping me learn a little bit more about prompt engineering and how I can adapt what he's learning to become more of a prompt engineer for my own courses, which has been fascinating to work on. So ChatGPT can generate tailored, encouraging, and I'm someone who's very big on encouraging feedback for students. I know some people, that's something they struggle with on their own, but you can actually prompt ChatGPT to help you, kind of guide you to create more like positive, encouraging feedback. You can acknowledge efforts. It can help you just speed up the process of offering guidance and helping students feel seen and supported. So with AI, feedback can be based on real-time progress, offering students insights. Again, it's all about, for me, it's really helped me, it's still me interacting with the students. It's still me prompting ChatGPT. It's still me reading all of the responses, but getting the ability to more quickly be able to respond to them, especially in stuff like when they're specifically, sending out emails or messages, asking where they're really having difficulty and they need more of an explanation about a specific topic. It can be really helpful. And there's support for revision and study practices, which I'm actually going to talk about on the next slide. This is really an interesting thing. So the idea of using ChatGPT to create practice quizzes, game-based content, and explainers, this aligns really well with a lot of cognitive science research on retrieval practice, which emphasizes the importance of actively recalling information as a way to strengthen memory and deepen learning. So retrieval practice, or the act of recalling information from memory, has been shown to be one of the most effective strategies for long-term retention. And ChatGPT can help you create things so quickly, like Quizlets, Kahoots, Google Forms. I mean, I was just astounded. I taught a class about research methods where I spent so much time creating PowerPoint slides, by hand to really meet the needs of the learners in my particular class. And then I uploaded the PowerPoint slides into ChatGPT, and it created like a 10-question multiple choice, assessment check for the students so quickly. It's something that would have taken me hours. It took like 1 minute. So I really love ChatGPT for that kind of a thing. A newer sort of AI that I have just been astounded by is Google Notebook LM. And if you have not seen it, I highly suggest checking it out. It is, so as was said at the beginning, I write for my blog Beyond School Walls at Psychology Today. And so just a few weeks ago, I decided I somehow came upon Google LM and I uploaded one of my articles. And what it does is it quickly creates a podcast based on text. And I'm just going to play you. I know we're already a little bit, we're running out of time, but I just want you to hear really quickly what it sounds like.
All right. So today we are going to be diving deep into optimism with
Sounds good.
Jessica Kohler's Wired for Positivity.
Okay.
And we're really not just talking about putting on a happy face here.
Right.
This is about.
So because of time's sake, I'm just going to go on from that. But it actually, if you listen, I did it with a bunch of my articles that I wrote, and they created wonderful podcast conversations. And again, as someone who has teenagers, sometimes podcast format can be much more of an effective way to help them learn something. So just a wonderful tool to have. Google LM can also create summaries and briefing docs very quickly. So I'm going to quickly go through, some of these slides, sort of re-emphasizing just how AI can be, tutoring, available 24/7, can help you personalize things, reduces the reliance of in-person services. It can help address that imposter syndrome by, it can help play an important role in helping students combat that imposter syndrome by offering consistent, reliable feedback that builds confidence. It can be more immediate, more timely. I think that for myself, one of the problems I sometimes have is the way that I'm grading papers, the first student versus the 30th student. I sometimes worry that I've changed kind of how I'm looking at things. And I found that like ChatGPT and other AI tools can help me be a little bit more consistent and reduce any biases like based on time or my fatigue and stuff like that. So I found that to be really helpful. It can help identify students who are at risk of feeling excluded, right? Helps for students to engage at their own pace, can provide diverse, inclusive content recommendations, which is amazing. Really quickly, I want to go over this really recent article about AI tutors, which is really an interesting one that I think some of you may be interested in looking into. In this study, the researchers sought to understand whether using AI assistance in completing writing assignments would impact students' retention of learning material, right? There's a lot of us that are really worried, how is AI really going to have an effect on student learning? Well, interestingly, this was done with undergrad psychology students, and what they found, contrary to expectation, is students using AI, both types that were used, scored higher on subsequent quizzes than those without AI assistance. So this outcome suggests that when used effectively, AI tools can actually enhance learning and retention. So quickly going to go through measuring the impact on AI-driven initiatives. This is me really thinking about how can we evaluate the effectiveness of our AI-driven solutions. I think institutions should really start tracking performance metrics such as student engagement, performance, and retention rates, utilizing surveys and feedbacks. And then using that data to drive and make decisions about using AI, of course, right? AI's ability to process large amounts of data allows institutions to make more informed decisions about how to support their students. So success should be measured through both qualitative and quantitative data, ensuring that these initiatives, because oftentimes we adopt things and then we don't measure it well enough, really evaluating whether or not the initiatives enhance the student overall experience. And just as an example, I quickly created using AI, student ratings of intellectual belonging as professors that we could use. I was thinking about using this in one of my courses, maybe to see how students felt in terms of intellectual belonging, in a class where I maybe utilized AI more than another or didn't use it. And then I also created instructor ratings of how much they and we would foster intellectual belonging for us to really be thinking about those things. So in general, AI offers tremendous potential to enhance intellectual belonging in higher ed, but of course, thoughtful implementation is key. And the next steps involve testing these solutions, training faculty, and then of course, regularly gathering feedback. Thank you so much for attending. I'm sorry I went a little bit over. You can connect with me here. I think it's going to be put in the chat as well. I so appreciate, thank you so much for attending. As I said, I have a whole bunch of references. If anybody wants any of the information that I have, please feel free to reach out to me. You can actually reach out via the site. It's posted there, and I even have my email address on that site that you can reach out, or via social media. But thank you so much for attending.
All right, thank you for joining us. I did add her website in the chat. Feel free to connect with her via that. And feel free to sign up for other amazing sessions happening today and tomorrow as well. Thank you again for joining us. Have a great day.